Thank you everybody for joining me today. I have a special guest, a good friend of mine. We go to the same church. His name is Estevan. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and you?
I'm doing fantastic. And so, like everybody, hopefully you know by now, this is what's your story. And what we're going to do today is just talk about your story and how you came to get where you are here today. But before we get to today, let's go back, let's rewind a little bit back to young Esteban. Where you from?
So I'm originally from San Luis, Colorado.
Okay.
It's kind of like a country type setting. So,
was it close by? What's the city that's close to it?
it's close to like the Great Sand Dunes.
Oh yeah.
Mimosa, down in that area. So we kind of grew up on a ranch type setting.
Okay.
I had horses and
Wow.
stuff like that. So
Is that what you wanted when you were a kid? Did you want to do anything with horses?
I used to ride horses like almost on daily as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, I mean that's I love horses.
Mm-hmm.
Probably don't look like it, but I do.
Do you have horses today?
I don't have horses today,
Mm.
but I love them. If I ever get a chance, I mean, if I could ride one, I will.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. And so, growing up with horses in a small town, what were you as a kid, or what was the environment out there?
it was good out there. I mean, it was like surrounded by mountains. So, I had a motorcycle, ATV type stuff. I used to just be in the mountains all day.
Yeah.
Just that was our backyard. But that was with my grandparents. So, my mom lived out here in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
And I used to come out here with my mom and my dad. But then my mom and dad would start messing up or start having some issues going on, so I'd have to go back down to the valley. And
Are you a single child?
at the time I was, I got two younger sisters right now. Really young.
Okay.
I think my oldest is like 26.
Wow.
And my youngest is like 24 or 5.
So really young.
Yeah. I mean, there's a big gap between us.
Yeah. Did that affect you growing up? Cause were you always like more protective, or?
I was, but then again, it was like I around 10 years old, my mom and dad, my dad used to sell drugs. So, it was kind of complicated.
Yeah.
I started dealing with that, so I get sent back down to my grandparents, and I was very overprotective over my sisters.
Yeah.
But then I got locked up at the age of 12.
Oh, okay. Wow. Before we get to that,
Yeah.
age of 12. Okay.
Yeah. So
What was the transition from loving horses, playing with ATVs, mountains? What made you start kind of going in that direction?
well, every time I'd come back with my parents, I would come into their environment,
Okay.
into the things that they were doing. My dad used to sell a lot of marijuana back in the early 80s, and eventually he moved to selling cocaine, and he got addicted to it. Him and my mom both got addicted to it. So I was trying to be out here more because my sisters were out here with them, and I wanted to look over them. But then just the people that we had coming to the house and stuff like that, I was being introduced into a whole another lifestyle.
Yeah.
I had a lot of family that was had gang ties and stuff like that, and I just started following
Yeah.
into that.
So, what was the first thing that you remember that was like kind of kick-started your gang or selling weed?
Yeah, I used to sell weed. My mom used to actually roll me joints to take to school.
Wow.
So
It was a family business.
Yeah, so like my dad would bring back pounds and pounds of weed, and it was compressed in like 2-pound bricks, and we used to tear it apart, and whatever fell off, my mom would let me keep, and she would help me, or like I'll give you an ounce, vacuum the floor or something like that. So it was we just always had it, and then when my dad started selling the cocaine and started using it, that's when everything just started kind of falling apart for
Okay.
us.
So you said at age 12 is when you was arrested. Walk us through that.
I think, well, I remember like right before that happened, like when my mom and dad would use cocaine, they would either lock themselves in the bathroom or in the bedroom or something like that. And I remember like trying to get their attention. And I think I left one night for like a whole night and didn't come back. And I ended up getting drunk. I think I drank like half a 40 ounce or something like that. And I couldn't ride my bike, so I ended up staying out of nowhere. But I came back home. I was scared. I came back home like at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they were still high. So I snuck in the house, and like they didn't even know I was gone. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of, I don't know, I think I wanted to test the limits to see like, well, okay, if I can get away with this, what else can I get away with? I got locked up. We were walking down the street one time. I was with a couple of friends, and there were some other kids, and we got into an altercation with them. One of the guys I was with stole $1 or $2 from this kid, and they arrested us all. They came back and got us all for like armed robbery or something like that. So
wow, okay.
I was incarcerated for that. Then I got caught with the gun.
How old were you at this point?
I was about 13 when I got caught with the gun.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I got sent. I got sent to a couple placements. I think one was in Pueblo, one was here in Colorado Springs. Ended up getting sent to a group home. I did good in a structured environment, but as soon as I got back out, I fell apart.
Yeah.
I didn't have no structure. I didn't have any type of thing. So I ended up getting an ankle bracelet, and I think I was on it for like a week, and cut it off and came back out to the Springs. And at that time, the gang involvement kind of got a little more serious. Just the people that I was hanging out with and things that we were doing. I was on the run for about, at this time, I think I was like 14 or 15. And, just the things that we were doing was kind of crazy. And I was with some of my friends one night, and one of my friends had got robbed. And some people came in, and we kind of found out on the streets, you know, who it was and what happened. So we came across this guy one night, and I had confronted him. And I remember he was telling me, like, if you come around here saying that, I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to kill you. And my friend was behind me, and he just started shooting. And all I remember was seeing sparks and hearing, like, the pops. And I didn't know if I had gotten shot, so I was, like, checking myself. And when I looked, the guy that I was talking to was on the floor. And I remember he had, like, a blue shirt and just started turning purple. And I grabbed him, kind of, like, pulled him to the side, and he was breathing, he was talking a little bit. And my friend, I think he was in shock because he was still, I remember looking at him, and he was in the same position that he was, but he was still like pulling the trigger, and he was just clicking.
So he emptied the clip?
He emptied the clip on him. I think the guy got shot. I don't remember how many times, but he got shot quite a few times. Maybe like 4, something like that. And next thing I know, we take off running. This happened like down on Academy, and I want to say it was close to airport.
Okay, yeah.
So me and one of my friends, we ran the other way. My friend that did the shooting, he took off in the car. After that, like, you know, it was on the news and everything like that. And at the time, I had tattoos on my face, and I cut them off. And then, I don't know, we had went on the run, and I remember one day we like had a meeting, we met up, and we were trying to figure out what we were gonna do. And we had all these guns and stuff like that. And my friend actually shot himself in the foot. Yeah. So it was, I don't know what he was doing. I think me and my friend were arguing because I didn't want him to tell him I had a gun because he was like, what guns do we got? And me and my friend were arguing in the back seat about the gun that I had, and he was like, give it to me. So I had to give it to him. When I gave it to him, he was asking us if it was loaded, and me and my friend were still arguing, and all of a sudden we heard pop. And he was like, I think I shot myself. So he shot himself in the foot, and he was on, we were all on the run. So that night, I think we were going to try to head out to New Mexico, and we got all the way down to San Luis. We came back. I don't know for what reason we came back, but when we came back, like, there was detectives posted up at all the houses we were trying to go to. So they dropped me and my friend off, and I think we had like a Tech 9 or Tech 22. We had a couple guns on us. We had like 3 guns, and they dropped us off, and me and my friend, like, he was shot. He was wounded. And, like, I'm only 14 or 15 at the time, and I had to carry him on my back. So I remember we were on the west side of Colorado Springs, and we climbed up this big old hill, and I had to carry him. So I had guns hanging from my neck, and, but anyways, we ended up, we suffered that whole night. It was rough. I actually wanted to go sleep in because we were by some apartments. I was like, let's just go to the laundry room and sleep in there. It was that bad. But we ended up, I remember if we stole the car or what we did, but we ended up getting to a place where we could rest and just kind of kick back for a minute. And we ended up going down to Alamosa. And while we were down there, it was just like a constant party. He was on the run, I was on the run, so we were just partying every night. And then one day, he was on Crime Stoppers and stuff like that. So,
were you scared?
No, I mean, it wasn't. I think I was scared. I was just going with the flow.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I think we were partying and drinking so much that it didn't affect us.
Yeah.
And then one day we, I think somebody had seen the Crime Stoppers clipping, and the detectives came to the house in the morning, and they came and they knocked, and they ended up coming in, and they found us. But the thing was, at the time, they weren't looking for me. They were looking for my friend.
Oh.
So when they came in, they wanted him. And I was on the run, and I don't know if I gave him a fake name or what, but they arrested him, and they left, and I took off.
Yeah.
And I ended up going I don't know how I got to New Mexico, but I was there for a while, and then some stuff happened over there, so my dad had to come pick me up.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather actually had me arrested. Yeah, because he was just, and I remember at the time I was mad, I was upset.
Yeah.
And, he would have me arrested because I went home and I fell asleep, and then that morning, like, when I woke up, the cops had my arms, and they were putting handcuffs on me.
Wow.
So I was upset with my grandfather for that, but then he came to visit me, and he was like, I know where you're at now. I don't have to worry about getting a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning saying you're dead or, something happened. He was like, you just need to get this over with and, finish your time. So from there, I ended up getting sent to Glen Mills in Philadelphia. It was, they had kids from everywhere, from California all the way from Jamaica, from, there was just so many kids there, and it was just like a huge college campus, but it was like a lockup facility at the same time. There it was crazy because back then, like, the staff used to beat us, and we're 3,000 miles away from home.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't. What are you gonna do? You're in the middle. You're in the middle of nowhere, because where we were at was in Concordville, Pennsylvania, and everybody that lived in that area worked at Glen Mills.
Okay.
So, and then it was right next to a prison. So, like, I wouldn't even know which way to run, or, you know, and it was surrounded by, like, trees and just, so it was crazy. But while I was there, I mean, they were real big on sports and stuff like that. So, it was kind of good, you know what I mean? I liked it, enjoyed it, I guess. I had no choice. I ended up getting a scholarship there to go to college. So when I got out, I paroled to Denver when I was about 17. And I was living with some of my family out there. And everything was going kind of good, I guess, but I just kept getting called back to down here to Colorado Springs. And at that time, one of my friends that was from my gang had just got murdered, and he happened to be 13 years old. So he was in a car that was involved in an altercation prior to him being in the car, and he was driving around. Somebody started, like 3 carloads of people started following him, and they shot at the car, I think maybe 60, 70 times. He was 13 years old. He dug down in the car, and he got struck by a bullet in the head, and he died. So at that time, there was like a big gang war type thing going on. And I remember I was just trying to be in it. And I kept coming back and forth from Denver to Colorado Springs. And then while I was in Denver, my cousins out there, they were involved in, you know, they had their own little neighborhood wars going on. And one day we'd pulled up to a stoplight, and these guys tried to jump us. And there was altercation. We started fighting. After the fight broke out, we went to my cousin's house, and these guys came back, and they came back with guns, and they started shooting. I got hit with pallets in the back of my head and my neck from a shotgun blast, and then my parole officer was like, "Oh, we need to get you out of here for a minute." And that's when I came back down to Colorado Springs. In that time that I was down here, I got back into what I knew. I was you know, it's crazy, like I grew up kind of hating my father after everything I've been through, and I ended up turning out just like him and the things that I was doing.
Yeah.
I was selling drugs. I was doing everything that he was doing.
You started doing.
I started doing. So it was crazy. I didn't realize it at the time, but I ended up. We were at a party again one night. An altercation that broke out. 2 people got hurt, and next thing I know, my friends that I was with, they got arrested. I ended up getting arrested. We all took a charge of 2 counts of attempted murder.
This time you're 17, so you're not.
Well, I just turned 18.
Oh, so wow, yeah.
So I got out when I was 17, and I just turned 18. So now,
that's an adult.
And now it's an adult, and my juvenile record didn't help. So as we were going to court, you know, me and the kid too, they come saying, "Oh, you're facing this and this much time." So they came with the plea, and they're like, "Well, we'll give you 7 years if you take this plea, because if not, and you go to trial, you're gonna get 64 years." So I was like, "Okay, I'll take the 7." So at 18, I ended up bonding out. But then as I bonded out, like,
what does that mean?
Bonded out of jail during for the charges I was in. So I was going to court. Yeah. But you have the option to pay a amount of money to get out and still go to court.
Oh, okay.
So I had bonded out, and in the back of my mind was like, I'm going to prison anyway. So I just started going crazy. I ended up getting in a I got into a fight at the Citadel Mall, and cops were called. I got in a high-speed chase. I ended up wrecking into a house, taking out a back fence. I went through the house, like, came to the backyard, hit the fence. I got stopped by, actually a cop car hit me, like head on, and another cop hit me from the side, and then, yeah, that was it.
Wait, let me ask, what is your mindset like? Because it's like, do you want to die, or what is pushing you to do all these things?
To be honest, I don't know. I wasn't trying to get caught.
Yeah.
You know, and but I ended up getting caught. So I got charged with felony vehicular looting, damage to property, like 30 or 40 traffic violations. You know, I mean, and they went to the like smallest details, switching lanes without a blinker, just everything. So I had a stack of charges. I bonded out on that one too. I was still going to trial. To court. And finally, it's I got put in a situation I couldn't bond out no more. And I took the plea and I was on my way to prison. 7 years.
So all the crazy stuff you did, they didn't add to it? They just gave you the 7?
No, yeah, they kind of dropped see, I had a plea to one of the higher charges, so I pled to like a first degree assault, and then they dropped all the other charges.
Okay.
So, it
worked out.
It sounded good at the time. So I'm in the county for a while, and then I get shipped out to Denver to DRDC. I'm in there for like I think a month, and that was like my first experience of being 23-hour lockdown for days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was horrible.
Because obviously you don't do that now. When did the change begin from that to where you are today?
Oh, it went on for a couple more years.
Really?
Yeah, because I went. So I got out when I was. I think I got
26 at this time. 7 years.
I was 18 at the time, so I got paroled when I was 24.
Okay.
And I was out for 3 months. Right when I got back out, I jumped right back into the game. This time I was selling more quantity. We were going through about 10 pounds of meth every 2 weeks.
But you're not using it, you're just selling it.
Not using it, just selling it. And with that, it's like a full-time job.
That's a lot of money for a 24-year-old. So yeah.
And plus, I was fresh out of prison, so I mean, I was, got a house right away. I was doing all these things right away, but then at the same time, there was a lot of people that were hating on me, because they've been out here for a while, and I'm just getting out of prison and showing up like this. So my parole officer was getting phone calls from people saying that I was doing this and doing that. So they came and raided my house. I wasn't there when they came, but I had a couple friends there, and they didn't find nothing at my house. They didn't, they searched through everything. They went through everything, but they're like, "We need to see you." And I was like, "Well, I'm not going in. You could catch me. I'm not gonna turn myself in."
Yeah.
But I knew what it was, so I got rid of everything that I had, and the guys I was working with. I had one guy that was supposed to. I was preparing to go back to prison, so I was gonna give him all my clientele and tell him, who owed me what, and stuff like that. And at the time, I thought he was a solid dude, and it was crazy because I didn't have anything on me, and I was with my wife, and they ended up raiding her house, and we had just sent that guy out to California to go pick up another shipment, and so I was in the county jail, and they went through my process quick, and they were like, "Well, we know that you were doing this, and we had calls that you were doing that, and dealing with weapons and drugs and this and that," but they didn't find nothing, so they couldn't prove nothing. And I ended up getting sent back for the remainder of my time, which was 2 years. So I got sent back for that, and my wife at the time, she was like, I can't do this. I'm not gonna do this. If you get out and you go back to this, and it ain't gonna work. So I really wanted to try something different. You know, I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. It sounded good in my mind, and you know, I used to write her all the time and tell her like, oh, it's gonna be so different. And then I get out, and it wasn't as easy as I thought. It was hard because I had to get a job.
Yeah, nobody's gonna give you a job.
Yeah, so I had to get a job, and I come out and I get a job that's everybody that I know from prison is getting out and getting the same job. And I think everybody on my crew had some type of addiction. We had a heroin addict, cocaine addict, alcoholic, weed smokers. We had everything. I don't even know how we got work done, to be honest. You know what I mean? And it was there, you know, I was working, and I was coming home making like $500 a week, and it was...
Yeah, from 10 pounds of meth every 2 weeks.
Yeah, so like, it was hard because it was like $500. What am I supposed to do? And then like I give it to my wife, and it was gone. You know, like, bills. Now I got to deal with bills.
Yeah.
So it was hard. It was. I think I got depressed.
I would too.
You know what I mean? I got depressed, and I didn't really. I never really got addicted to hard drugs because of what I seen with my parents. But when it came to alcohol, I was like, oh yeah, this feels good. You know, I could do this. And my wife had started. She got pregnant like right away, so she kind of started tripping on me coming home from work and drinking and stuff. So one day I remember we were coming home, and my friend that I used to give him rides, he's like, let's go get a 12-pack. I was like, nah, bro, I can't. My leg's tripping. He's like, oh, don't trip, bro. Watch, we'll go get some vodka. And so we got some vodka and some grapefruit juice, and we drank. And I went home. My wife was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, nothing. I was, you know, buzzed and feeling good, I guess. And she was like, something's wrong with you. And she was like, let me smell your breath. And she went to smell my breath, and she couldn't smell nothing. So I was like, this works. So I started doing it more.
That's a cheat code.
Yeah. And next thing I know, like, it got control of me.
Yeah.
I started drinking on a daily basis, and it wasn't just, you know, a drink to get buzzed or anything. Like, it wasn't occasional drinking. It was drinking to get drunk. And I think things just started falling apart. You know, started losing my job, just stuff like this, and the guy that actually, well, this is what also kind of helped me change my ways from that. But he had gone to California, and on the way back, he got pulled over in Arizona, and he used to always carry a jar of weed with him. And he got pulled over in Arizona. They smelled the weed in the car, so they asked if they could search it, and he just kind of was like, the 8 pounds in the back isn't mine. He got caught with like 8 pounds of meth and about $45,000 in cash. So he ended up wearing a wire and finished the delivery. And I happened to be in the county jail at the time. I had actually got back to prison. They had sent me that quick. And because the way I got the news, I was in my cell, and somebody came to my door and knocked on it, and they're like, hey, bro, Mickey got caught, and he told on everybody. I was like, yeah, right, dude. You're tripping. So I get out, call my wife, and I was like, have you heard from him? She's like, no. And I called my friend's mom, and she said, yeah, he got caught. And so
when he wore the wire, did y'all meet up and did he set you up?
I didn't meet up. I got raided. I was in the county when he went out there. And within, I think it was like 5 days, because usually it took him like 3 days to go to California and come back. And I they like processed me quick. They violated my parole. They sent me back to prison. I think on the 5th day, you know, I was back in prison, and that's when I found out that he had finished the delivery, and he took it to my other friend, and my friend, you know, he had him on wire, he had him on tape, saying everything, talking about the transactions, the trip, everything. So my friend got busted, and he ended up getting 18 years in the federal prison for that. So that kind of like opened my eyes too.
Yeah.
Even the people that were supposed to be solid ain't solid. So yeah, I was.
You got your friend getting busted, and then the alcohol, and you seeing it mess up your life. What was the? Was that the bottom of the bottom that made you see for something else, or was there another?
The bottom, I think, was when my grandfather passed. I was already drinking, but when he passed, it was like, I think the guilt, like I should have been there with him, but instead I was here locked up. So I went into like even a deeper depression, and I started drinking worse, and I was starting to speak death on myself, saying, you know, I just want to die, I don't want to be here. And the drinking progressed, and you know, I used to start fights with my wife so I could leave, or you know, just whatever I can so that I could be drinking. One day me and her were arguing, and I tried to get my son, and my son like pulled away from me, and it reminded me of me when I was little, and the way I felt. So I left. I seen the damage I was doing, and it was easier for me to leave. And when I left, I just focused on all the bad and started to drink more. And that was that was in 2008, and I think for about 3 months I was drinking about a gallon of vodka a day.
How many kids do you have at this point? Just one?
3.
3? Wow.
Yeah.
A boy and how many girls?
I have 2 boys and 1 girl.
Wow. Okay.
So I was just suffocating my own sorrow, I guess, and drinking like a fish. I mean, I would wake up drunk, go to bed drunk, and you know, it got to a point where I wasn't eating no more. And then I called my sister one day, and I was like, "Hey, you need to take me to the hospital. Something's wrong with me. Like my side kept hurting, and you know, I've burned every bridge in my family. So when I called my sister, she's like, "Yeah, right. This isn't an excuse to get liquor or something." I was like, "No, like you really need to take me to the hospital. Something's wrong." So she picked me up, but I mean, I really did run out of alcohol too. So I was like, "But you need to buy me a bottle, because if not, you know, I might have a seizure or something like that." So she ended up buying me a bottle, maybe 2, and I slammed them right before I got, to the hospital. When I went in, you know, they gave me a breathalyzer, and I think I blew a .67, and I was coherent. And they were like, "I don't understand how you're talking or how you're, functioning right now, because you should be dead or in a coma." And that's just how much alcohol I was consuming. So I went in, and I don't remember for like a week. It was a blur because I was in and out of it. I had pneumonia. And my sister, she had ended up calling my wife, and she's like, "You need to come see him." And at the time, my wife was mad, and she was like, "No, he did this to himself. He brought this on himself. Like, he could deal with this." And my sister was like, "You should bring the kids at least to see him, because it's kind of bad." So she did. It's funny because like when I tell her, it's like, she seen me, she fell in love with me again. Because she was like, "Want to come back home?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll come back home. Yeah, I want to." She's like, "But you got to be done." At the time, I was done. I was tired of it. It was just ruining my life. I came home for about a week or two, and it was good. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't, doing anything. But then I ended up sleeping for like 3 days straight, and I didn't realize that, like, I didn't use the bathroom in that whole 3 days. When I woke up, my eyes were yellow, and my wife was like, "We need to go. We should take you to the hospital. Something's wrong." I was like, "Nah, I don't need to go." And she was persistent, so I was like, "Okay, I'll go." And when I got to the hospital, they were like, the nurse seen me, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're in liver failure." I was like, "What?" So they started doing some tests, and then they came back, and they were like, well, first they pulled my wife out, and they're like, "Is this your husband?" She's like, "Yes." They said, "Well, he's not leaving this hospital alive. He's dying. He has the highest liver score we've ever seen. We give him 3 months tops with a 5% chance." So then, I get hit with that news, and it's like, how do you take it? At the time, I was still being prideful. I didn't want to break down in front of my family. So I kept telling my wife, like, just go home, let me be. And when she went, she ended up going home. She didn't want to leave, but she ended up going home because the kids were, tired and everything. She stayed till about 2 in the morning or something. And that's when my mind just started going crazy. How do you take that news? And
Yeah. How old were you at this point?
I was 28.
Wow. Okay.
So I was 28 years old, and I was just like, man, where did my life go? I spent half of my life locked up. Like, I don't got nothing to show for it. I don't have nothing. My kids, what am I leaving my kids with? Just so all this stuff started happening, and then they had moved me into ICU, and that night there was a guy that was next to me, and about 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, he started moaning and just screaming and going, through some things, and I remember like hearing a code on the intercom, and then a bunch of doctors running. It sounded like a stampede. My curtain started moving real crazy. I don't remember exactly how long it was that they worked on him, but it was I don't know, it seemed like maybe 10 minutes or less or more. I don't remember. But all of a sudden it got quiet, and it was a scary quiet. A lot of the doctors started walking out, and the nurse came over, and she was like, "Do you know what just happened?" And I was like, "What, he died?" She was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "That's gonna happen to you next." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "You're so far gone that we can't save you. There's no point in saving you." And she was like, "It's best if you let us put a DNR band on you." And at the time I didn't know what a DNR band. I was like, "What is that?" And she was like, "Do not resuscitate." And I was like, "You're tripping. I'm not putting that on." And she stayed there for about 15 minutes convincing me why it would be best. And she kept telling me, like, "You're too far gone. There's no hope. She was like, "Did you see what they just did to that guy? Or did you hear what they did?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Well, that could disfigure you." And she started using my kids. She was like, "Do you got kids?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You don't want your kids to see you disfigured, do you?" She's like, "We could break your ribs and like mess you up, and you don't want to be messed up, do you?" And she kept bringing that up. So after a while, I was like, "Okay, go ahead, put it on." So at that time, like, she put the band on and she left. And here my whole world is just falling apart. And I'm like, man, trying to go through my head, like, why is this happening? Why did this happen? And then I started, God, where you at? You know what I mean? Like, like I know I'm a good person, but why is all this happening to me? Why would you let this happen to me? And then it was like weird because I heard this voice and it said, I didn't do this to you. Your sin did this to you. And there was nobody in the room, but I heard it like clear as day, and just it was. And I just remember like crying, and I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like I used to tease people in prison for going to church. You know what I mean? So it's like I was like, God, if you're real, I need you. I need help. That was like my first prayer. Yeah. My wife came in the next morning, and I was like, look, because, you know, during that whole time that I was out, it was like we didn't have a good marriage. We did things, we hurt each other, we were just, it was crazy. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily call it a marriage. And I was like, we need to forgive each other for everything. You know, let's start brand new. Let's both accept Jesus Christ. And I remember her mom was a Christian, and I would go to the house. I would be drunk, and she like walk by me, and I'd act like I was passed out, and she would start praying in tongues over me, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this lady. And I just act like I was sleeping, and then like she would be done, and I would run out. But you know, she used to always like pray over us, and just, you know, my grandma too was always praying, and me and my wife, we both like let go. We forgave each other, and we accepted Christ, and then that was it. Okay. That was the beginning.
Yeah. How did you go from there to starting the ministry that you have?
Well, I was in the hospital for 9 months. I died once. My heart stopped on February 15th. Going through what I went through as a juvenile, like being in placements and having counselors and all that, I was never honest with any of them. I told them what they wanted to hear. And that was it. They were satisfied with that. You know, they didn't dig deeper. They didn't try to, you know, really get to the bottom of it. They didn't see the signs of the things that I was dealing with. So that kind of made me like want to work with kids when I was older. You know, because I remember counselors used to tell me, like, oh, I know what you're going through. I used to do stuff too, but I just never got caught. And like I'm in the back of my head, like, you never seen your dad OD. You never seen, you know what I mean, the things that I've seen. And so I just knew that like there's more to it. You know, so that was in my heart as a kid. But I was never living right. I was in the hospital for 9 months, and I feel like that 9 months was a rebirth. We got closer to God, me and my wife. She was like my pastor in there. She used to call pastors to come and pray, and I remember one time that nobody could come, and she was forced to pray over me. You know, but I see my wife, like, before when the doctors would come in, my wife would run out, and she would hide in the bathroom and wait until the doctors left, and then she'd come back, be like, what'd they say? I'd be like, that I'm dying. You know, and after a while, like, as we started building our relationship with Christ and getting to know Him more, being more intimate with Him, she wouldn't run out no more. She would stay. And when the doctors would speak the negative reports, we started to denounce them and not accept them. And on February 15th, when my heart stopped, I remember not being able to breathe. Started to panic. I was like awake. I was coherent. I was seeing what was going on, but I was gone. Like, you know what I mean? Couldn't move. Couldn't do nothing. And then all of a sudden the lights went out. Immediately this bright light just came over me, and there's so many ways to try to explain. Like I want to explain it in so many different ways, but the best way to say it is I felt free. All my life I've been in bondage, I've been in pain, I've been in hurt, I've held on to so much unforgiveness and bitterness. It was just, it was so much. And when I was in that experience right there, I didn't feel any of it. I felt peace, happiness, joy, love. And this voice started speaking to me, and he introduced himself. He said, "I'm the Alpha and Omega." And we had a conversation, and he was talking to me about forgiveness, telling me I need to let go, and I was like, I can't, and I think I remember when I was 18, I got to prison, I was sitting in my cell, and I was like, man, this is my mom and dad's fault that I'm in here. I never took accountability for my own actions. I always blamed somebody else. So he was like, just let it go, give it to me, I'll take it from you. And I was like, you can't, I can't let it go. And he's like, if I could forgive you for everything that you've done, how come you can't let go of something so petty? And I broke. And I was like, I don't want it no more. I was crying. I was like, take it, please take it. I want something different. I'm
This is
done.
all in that light.
This is in that light. And he was like, go back and be with your family. And he goes, let my people know I'm coming soon. My eyes open. And I was in so they had resuscitated me and brought me back, put me on life support. And they told my wife that it was a high chance that I could be brain dead. They were going to give me 10 days to be on the machine, and then she was going to have to make a decision. I came out of it in 3 days. I still had the tubes in my mouth, and I was like trying to tell my wife what I just experienced. And the doctors were doing tests, they were tickling my feet. And I remember they were asking me, like, do you know who the president is? And I actually didn't know who it was. I didn't follow, anything like that. I was like, I don't know, dude, but Jesus loves you. And they're like, okay, this dude's tripping. So they took me off, but as soon as they took the tubes out of my mouth, out of my throat and all that, and my wife was like, how long was I dead for? She was like, what? And I told her what I had just experienced, and I was like, call my mom. I called my mom, and first time in 28 years that I called my mom and said, I'm sorry, and I love you, and I forgive you. And I just felt the weight be lifted off me. So I called my dad, I did the same thing with him. And it just felt so good. I was like, who else could I call? You know what I mean?
Call everybody.
Call one of my enemies or something. And then, I was just, the presence of God in my life at that time was just I was just with him. It felt like, and I was hungry. So I ordered a pizza, right? First time I ever witnessed to anybody, this dude, I don't know, I hope he didn't lose his job, but he stayed in there with us for about an hour. I was just telling him about God and what I had just experienced, and he gave his life to God that night.
Amen.
And I just, the doctors kept coming in day after day saying, I don't know how you're still alive, you're gonna die. And I kept telling them, I'm living, Jesus told me I'm healed. And they're like, well, we think Jesus has a different plan for you. My body broke down. I mean, that disease, cirrhosis, whatever it was, it's horrible. The way it deteriorates your body. I was 97 pounds. I looked like a dead man walking. Just the colors, I was blue, black, purple, everything. It was in July, I had to go for a checkup because they would send me home and I had to come back because I got sick. So they didn't let me go home. And while I was there in the hospital, I'd go in front of a board of doctors and tell them why I deserve a liver. And what could I tell them? I know how to make a picture frame out of Dorito bags. You know what I mean? I could make a cross out of a stocking.
Right.
Just what do I go in there and tell them? But I just prayed about it, and I went in and I was like, look, I don't have anything from my past that I could tell you that would make you think anything better of me, but I've given my life to God, and I want to use, you know, I want to have a second chance so that I could be there for my kids, and I want to use this to help other people.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, Mr. Medina, we'll see you. You know, we'll let you know our decision. So went back. You know, I had peace about it. 3 days later, we got a letter while I was in the hospital, and it was from the board, and they're like, congratulations, you've been accepted on the transplant list. So that was just, I had been accepted to be placed on the transplant list in Colorado. Doctors came in, you know, we're praising God, like having a little Holy Ghost party in the room, and doctors come in and they're like, don't get your hopes up. You're probably gonna die waiting for it. You know, most people are on the list for 5 years.
Yeah.
So again, we rebuked it. We didn't receive it. And 3 days from that day, they called me and said, we got a perfect match. Get ready. You know, we're taking you into prep. And I went through a 15-hour surgery. Got a liver transplant. I was supposed to get a liver and a kidney, but they just gave me the liver, and that was my second chance.
Yeah. Wow.
It took me about 6 months to heal, and as soon as I was able to heal, like. This is the area that I grew up in the southeast side of Colorado Springs. So I started going to some of the schools, like middle schools, saying, I want to talk to your kids. And at first they thought I wanted to recruit kids for a gang.
Yeah.
But one of the principals was a Christian, and he was like, well, what's your story? What are you trying to do? So I sat there and talked to him, and he kind of helped me put some things together, and it turned out. He let me speak at the end of the school year, and I had like 30 kids sign up. I had no idea what I was gonna do with them.
Sign up for what?
Just to meet with me, you know, and to do something during the summer. It was crazy how God lined things up, because like I went to go buy a shirt one day, and I pulled up to the store, and there happened to be a church in the storefront area. I walked in, and it was Pastor Bill, and I walked in. I kind of just told him my heart, and he was like, hold up. Went in his office, came back out, and gave me a key to his office. Like, this is weird, because this is a white guy. And, you know, I'm looking the way I'm looking. You know, come to find out, like, years later, we were talking. He's like, man, I honestly thought you were going to come in and rob me. You know, but...
So he give you the keys like, out of mercy. Don't do it.
But after he heard my story and, you know, my heart, he was like, you can use my building. And it all just lined up, and so now I had a place to bring these kids, and we were just meeting with them and kind of sharing the gospel with them. Yeah. And
who's we at this point?
Me and my wife.
Okay.
And it picked up. Kids kept coming. You know, and it started to grow from there, and then my daughter actually came up with the name Second Chance Through Faith, and. Gosh, that was 11 years ago. And
that's crazy.
It grew.
So, wow, 11 years in doing this, what is the one thing that, I mean, because you have like a very dramatic story. Yeah. That if somebody's watching this and they're listening and they're either in the same place as you are, or they're not necessarily in the gang council, but they're looking, because we're all looking for something, like why are we here and whatnot. What kind of message would you share to them?
Like one thing right now that I share with my kids is, if you guys find God now in your life, like it's gonna save you from so much pain, and hurt. And if you are in a situation where you are in that low of your life and you're hurting, and it feels like there's no out, like there is, there is hope, no matter how bad the situation is. There's hope. Through Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Actually, even before I forget, because you've been doing this for 11 years, and I think it was 2 weeks ago you had some kids get baptized at our church. We go to the same church. What is, I guess, tell us a success story from a kid that you met and it was bad, and then you saw what the Lord did in their life?
Gosh, there's so many. I think one of them right now. I had a kid when he was like 15 or 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He went through everything, kind of same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up marrying him and his wife. We're the godparents to his son.
Mm-hmm.
He's 26 now, and he comes back, and he's helping me share. That's like one of them.
Yeah.
We have other kids that have graduated. We have my nephews. You know, they never got in trouble, but my nephew works in the juvenile field now.
Mm-hmm.
I think watching these kids be able to be kids and drop the gang lifestyle, and get close to God. I mean, a success story was we had 15 to 20 kids that day that got baptized.
Yeah, that was amazing. You should have been there. It was very. It was. I was recording all that. It was beautiful. So, because he has an amazing. Because I know him from church, but I never walked in his ministry or anything. So I walk in the building, and this is an amazing building that you got here. Tell the people how the Lord provided all this, and because this is beautiful.
You know, I don't know, because I remember when we started it, I wanted it to be self-sustained. Like I wanted the ministry to take care of itself, and God provided it.
Yeah.
You know, just in every single way. There was people that, like, when the courts found out about me, I think the judicial system, when they found out about me, they were concerned because of my past, my background. So they actually like try to shut us down, and it backfired. And now like we got contracts with them, so they actually refer kids to us.
Wow.
And you know, it's just amazing how God has opened doors.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And the name of the ministry is Second Chance Faith.
Through faith.
Second Chance Through Faith. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. And tell us the goal, because obviously we can kind of see, but what is your future plans for this ministry? Because it's an amazing ministry.
So we've been reaching out to the kids, and we want to find them because I know through the things that I was exposed to, there's people that can't even imagine a kid being exposed to those things.
Yeah.
And these kids are exposed to things at 8 years old, 9 years old. You know, we want to come alongside them and show them that you don't have to keep chasing that path, and you could find Christ and live a different life, change your life. And like I think right now we got a kid that his dad's been coming, and there's been a change in that whole family. But the kid is like on fire for God. He was one of the ones that got baptized.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to see. Like, so now we're not only reaching out to the kids, but we're going after the families too.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
That's amazing.
It's just wherever God, leads us, we're gonna be obedient and go to that call.
You get the family, the kids have a good place for them to grow. Well, wow, I love.
Yeah.
That's amazing, and thank you, by the way, for sitting down. He's a busy man, as you can imagine. So I'm very happy that you chose to give us this time, and once again, very grateful. So, if you're watching this interview, remember, we all have a story. What's your story? Goodbye. Thank you for joining my show and listening to the interview that I just had. Come again next time when we have another amazing interview. And in the meantime, subscribe and follow me on social media so that you can keep in contact with me and see what I'm doing throughout the weeks that are coming up. Thank you.